The Houston Astros and Seattle Mariners absolutely despise each other. Holy God, I'm looking through some of this recent history between the two teams, and let's just say nobody from either side is inviting each other to their Thanksgiving table this year. It started last year after Ty France was hit by a pitch from Hector Neris, and things just blew the F up. Lots of screaming, lots of FUs, lots of shut up, the bench is cleared. It was just a whole lot of testosterone. You know, the typical baseball quote-unquote brawl, a ton of angry men. Now, this incident happened back in June of 2022. So about a year and 3 months ago. And there's something very interesting that happens here that ends up coming to play later on, a year and 3 months later to September of 2023. So the bench is clear, coaches and players are screaming at each other, but watch this. The eventual Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, goes and wraps his arms around Hector Neris, the man who just hit Ty France, which led to this whole thing. Julio wasn't out here trying to fight Neris or anything, he was just trying to keep the situation calm and not let it get any more out of hand than it already was. He also probably wanted Neris to stay in the game because once the game did resume, Julio would connect for a 2-run opposite field shot off of Neris to extend Seattle's lead over the Astros. Of course, being extremely pumped around the bases along with his boys in the dugout. A couple batters later, Eugenio Suarez comes up and Neris throws a pitch behind Suarez's head. A ball that would hit the backstop, with the umpires immediately getting together and making the decision to eject him. 2023 has featured 3 more benches clearing incidents between these two teams. Before we get into that, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the content and haven't yet. Thank you. Earlier in the 2023 season, Mariners infielder Jose Caballero, who's pretty big on trying to mess with pitchers' rhythm, or at the very least really likes to get his timing right and be ready, and take his time, and it pisses some guys off. It pissed off Garrett Cole during a Yankees game earlier this year, when Caballero just really got under Cole's skin. Constantly just twirling his bat and walking out of the batter's box, calling time whenever he could. I mean, this just pissed Cole off to the point where he just said screw it and tossed a pitch way over Caballero's head. Nowhere close, but just a way to send a message to tell him how annoyed he was at Caballero. Cole would end up striking Caballero out to end the 7th inning, have some words for him while walking off the mound, only to start getting yelled at by Mariners manager Scott Service, with Cole then doing that little finger wag to mock him. So in this version of Caballero playing mind games in the batter's box, he calls time kinda late, and despite the pitch being over the plate, he called time so the ump granted him that time. On the very next pitch, Caballero feels that Astros catcher Martin Maldonado was rushing him, so after swinging and missing, he turned back to Maldonado, start yelling at him, and the benches would clear. The Astros must have really hated Caballero after this and kept this stored in their memory banks, because months later, with the Mariners now in Houston, Dylan Moore would go deep off of Framber Valdez for a 2-run shot, extending the Mariners' lead to 6-2 over the Astros. The next batter up, Jose Caballero, would get smoked with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball in the ankle area on the first pitch. Caballero, of course, wasn't pleased. Valdez started to walk toward him, gesturing that he couldn't hear what Caballero was saying, and, well, what do you know? Julio Rodriguez was back at it, holding the Astros pitcher with his arms wrapped around Framber Valdez to keep the situation from going any further. Okay, so to me, what this all seems like from the outside looking in, Julio Rodriguez is like the ultimate peacekeeper here. Like, there's no reason for any Astros player to hate him out of all the players in the Mariners. The dude's just out here holding back the Astros pitchers that are hitting his own players. He's not necessarily making friends with them, but he's not trying to fight them either, just do his part to calm the situation and keep it from getting any worse. Skip ahead to September 27th. The Mariners and Astros are facing off for the last time in 2023, at least for the regular season, and this is a big game for both teams. Two teams that already have bad blood, and that bad blood would only get worse. In the bottom of the 6th, with 2 outs, Julio Rodriguez would walk up to the plate with the tying run on first base, but strike out on 3 pitches. After doing so, the pitcher would immediately start basically charging Julio from the mound. He wasn't like full speed running at him, but he was of course heading his way and yelling. Julio obviously didn't like this, and the bench is cleared, and the crazy and kind of weird part of all of this, the pitcher was Hector Neris, the same guy who was held back by Julio last year, and who would of course later give up a crucial home run to. And not only that, but the two players have actually been looked at as friends. Right when Neris started to yell at Julio, Eugenio Suarez, who was on the on-deck circle, Suarez told reporters after the game that he assumed it was all a joke, because Neris and J-Rod have had a good relationship. Julio himself didn't talk to the media, but did relay through a team spokesperson that he was shocked by Neris' reaction because he didn't think there had had been any previous animosity. Rodriguez and Neris are actually represented by the same agency and were teammates on the Dominican Republic team for the World Baseball Classic earlier this spring. And not only that, but Rodriguez recently hosted Neris, among other players, at his home in Seattle for dinner recently on an off day. Neris did speak to the media about the incident and made it seem like it was nothing, even saying that Julio is his friend, that it's part of the game, that it's part of the moment. Okay, I'm sorry, what in God's name am I missing here? From what I'm reading and hearing about, Julio and Neris seem to be genuine friends with each other. It's one thing to be with the same agency, another to be teammates during the World Baseball Classic, okay, cool. But when you invite someone to your house for dinner when he's not even your teammate on the Mariners, that usually means they're cool with each other. You don't just invite someone you're on the fence with to your private place of residence for dinner. That doesn't seem like the move. So why did this happen? I couldn't tell you. But I will say that when Eugenio Suarez was on the on-deck circle, thinking Neris yelling at Julio Rodriguez was a joke at first, he quickly realized it wasn't, claiming he heard Neris yell a homophobic slur to Rodriguez. Quote, "From the beginning, I thought it was a joke because before today they had a really good relationship. And then he started talking bad words in Spanish. He started doing something that is not good for people who speak Spanish and understand. I was in the on-deck circle and I heard that. That pissed me off," end quote. So you're buddies with Julio, are represented by the same agency as Julio, was teammates with Julio representing your country in the World Baseball Classic, got invited to his house for dinner, and then walk up to taunt, yell, and call Julio slurs after striking him out, causing the benches to clear? Something just isn't adding up. I guess Julio's got to start thinking long and hard about who he's trusting into his house, because I'm no expert on anything, but I don't really think Hector Neris is Julio Rodriguez's friend, or at the very least, he didn't treat him like a friend on Wednesday night. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.